there. So here we go. 3, 2, and 1. Well, Gaylene, welcome. I guess we're picking on you this week for Mayor's Monday, WSAU, WSAU.com. Of course, as we say, you're not a mayor, but you can just ignore that part because you're still one of our local leaders, and you've got a lot on your plate these days, to say the least. Not to say everything else is not important, but at the very top of that list, town and corporation. Where are we at on this process? I mean, are we going to be talking about the village of Rib Mountain sometime in the next year and a half or so?
Well, your timing was perfect because I just dropped off a flash drive of our draft to our consultant. So Bill Forrest was hired by the town of Rib Mountain to help us out with the incorporation. Bill's got a background from this area because he used to be the town administrator for the village of Weston, and he's also been a consultant to many towns in Wisconsin to help them out with their incorporation. So we've been working with Bill and also with MSA to help us out with the application. I wouldn't say an application, I got corrected. It's a submittal of our request to incorporate. So I told the board on Tuesday at our board meeting that I would estimate that we're probably at that 75, almost 80% for the actual submittal. And we put a self-imposed application or a submittal deadline on ourselves in October. And we'll find out soon how far we're gonna be able to meet that. And if things go to where they're at, we could hope if everything on the Department of Administration goes through the process we think it does, it could be next summer that we could anticipate a referendum. But again, that's also depending on the department's review on what they call the Incorporation Review Board, and if they have any corrections, and it depends on their schedule too. So, but we're getting there, and it's once we get the submittal done, that one step is done, and then they actually will be holding a hearing. It would be taking place here at the town of Rib Mountains Municipal Center, and it's almost like we give testimony why we believe that we meet the requirements to become a village.
Yeah, and you know, some people might be saying, okay, well, it seems like this discussion comes up, you know, every so often. Don't know that something's actually going to come of it this time. It seems like you're really starting to get your ducks in a row. So if people aren't paying attention to this story, you know, now's the time to kind of tune in, right? Right,
and it's much different. You and I had a conversation before we started about how this is really much different, because now it's actually a petition that was signed by the residents and submitted. So it's really now real, and it goes through the whole process. So we are now working on that next step. So it's becoming more of a reality as we get further into it.
So, and this might only seem like a change in title then for some, but what else can we expect then for residents to change? Because, you know, Rib Mountains, I guess from my perspective and being here 4.5, 5 years now, has always kind of been known as the place where, yeah, you might stop there to do some shopping, but if you want to live there, it's really a place to kind of stretch out and live among nature, even though you might only be a few minutes away from your office in downtown Wausau.
Yeah, Rib Mountain is a place to be. It's certainly a place to do shopping and tourism, but also a place to live. And so it really provides a sense of community. But you're absolutely right. With all we have in our community, and it's certainly one of the fortunate and blessed things that we have in our community, is the fact that we do have nature right here. And that also goes into our tagline, where, you know, nature comes together, and, you know, we all sport. It's all part of that bigger picture. And so that's important for not only for our residents, but future residents, our businesses, as well as those who come to visit our area.
So what can residents maybe expect to see changing then if this does indeed go through? Of course, we're talking a lot of hypotheticals because, as you mentioned, there would have to be a referendum that would be passed. And so a lot of these changes are probably a few years out. But what are some of those things that maybe residents should be keeping in mind as they inform themselves on this process?
It should be too much different from what we are, and which is a good thing, because sometimes it's, you know, I had a community in the Fox Valley area, like literally they just scraped off the word town and put the village on there, and that would be great. And that's pretty much where we're at. We do have a contract services we've had now going on a couple of years now with the Marathon County Sheriff's Department. So we are going to continue that relationship. So we'll have that law enforcement. And matter of fact, we are anticipating budgeting for the second officer, which, and it made it very clear in our submittal, had nothing to do with the incorporation. That kind of relationship and the continuation of additional law enforcement proposal has nothing to do with the incorporation. That was going to happen at some point down the road anyways. So that was certainly, should not see a change on that endpoint, but the only thing that really is going to be different, and it's more of a, I would say, an internal but different in as far as the processes, is we have a separate utility as far as water and sewer. Now, instead of that being a separate governing body, it all becomes under one house, and it becomes, in essence, under the town, or under the new village, I should say.
Yes.
So there's certainly, I think, some advantages that way, because it's a collaboration. We do collaborate, but certainly a next step of the collaboration on staff level and also in planning, and, you know, for the future as far as, you know, water and sewer and how they extend, etc. So that kind of, that might be more of the changes that the residents would see, instead of maybe it coming a bill from the Rib Mountain Sanitary District. It might be coming from the village of Rib Mountain instead. Yeah. That would be something. And certainly combining the finances is going to be a big change for us internally, and additional staff change too.
So and how long, you know, this process that you've gone on now for several months,
years,
years, a couple of years now, I should say. Yeah. Give us an idea then, throughout the process, what have you learned? And obviously, what's the biggest thing that has made it worthwhile to go through with this process? Or what will the biggest benefit be to the residents?
Well, the process is long. It's not something that happens overnight. Right. I mean, I wish, you know, when our consultant told the board, you know, it could take, you know, he had clients where it took many years. It truly does. Even if you're like trying to accelerate and go through that process, it is a long process. And it's a lot of work as far as like the program they give you or the guidelines they give you. It's a lot of questions and you have to answer it. But also gets you to know your community. You know, I'm learning things about the community as far as the demographics and the changes and things of a history, and you add that into the mix of the entire picture. Like just little things like knowing how many students attend the Wausau School District that are Rib Mountain residents. I mean, never would have had to ask that. As far as the benefit, as far as your second part of your question, for me, I think it's a sense of community, and the things that people have, the feedback I have heard is the fact that people consider themselves Rib Mountain residents. You know, that's the sense of community that I think differentiates ourselves in that process. So
this is a way to solidify that, to make sure it's not going to change.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely.
Well, we'll certainly look forward to seeing where this goes down the road. One of the other great services that you provide to residents, whether you're a town or a village or whatever have you, Sandy's Bark Park. Obviously, people have been voting every day to help you get some money to put this together. But yes, give us an idea of where you're at as far as the expansion of that goes and how that amenity has been embraced by the community.
So Sandy's Bark Park has certainly been something, who would have thought that would have continued to grow as it does. And the fact that we actually have had people contact us and emulate the kind of design we have. And it's not just a simple, you know, fenced in area. It's got a walking path that's unique. And we do our best to try to keep that facility open during the winter months. And I live not too far from it, so it's a neighborhood area that is within walking distance. It's accessible from trails that we have, so that's been it's been a really nice addition, and we continue to grow. And certainly the success of it spurred the land donation that we did receive from the Austin Living Trust. That kind of said, wow, maybe we should build on this. And that's how we ended up with the land donation. So we appreciate that.
Yeah, and you've got 3 phases right now that you're looking at as far as expansion goes. I know you're fundraising for all the whole project right now, but you're also hoping that you can get some help from the community as far as this donation goes. Give us an idea again why we should be going online and voting every day for the town to get this donation to help expand.
Well, it's again, it goes back to being community, and certainly it's not just about Rib Mountain, it's about the area. We are the only Wisconsin community that was nominated as a finalist, so some Wisconsin pride we should have. That helps. It's every chance that we can get some funding to help offset that, and it does stir attention to our park. And maybe if someone does vote, maybe they decide they want to also donate financially, so it can just kind of build on it itself.
Yeah, so what are some of the upgrades then that we're hoping to implement over the next few months?
So right now we do have the part of the vinyl fencing that is up. So that was it was a little concerning because of the back order on supplies, and we are in process. That's completed. Also, we're going to be working on getting the rest of the fencing done. We are planning on doing some sort of ribbon cutting ceremony for that portion of it. So the trail is already set up. And also we are working with our grant from the Pet Safe that we've asked everybody to vote on for water facilities at the dog park. So that kind of is a driver as well. But at the end of September, we're hoping to see that second section open up, which will have a gated area that people can utilize it. But one of the biggest things that we're missing, and we certainly could use good amount of contribution towards, is a parking lot, because it's been successful on the first park. It's going to be successful on the second part, so we need to place those cars somewhere.
Indeed.
Co-Vantage Credit Union's been wonderful to work with as far as allowing for some of the overflow lots, but it's a good thing, but it also can be a challenge because we don't have the funds yet to continue with the parking lot. So that's our next one. And then the last one, as I mentioned, if you're not a dog owner, certainly more than welcome to walk into trails, but the last part of it will be the walking paths that will connect, that will be outside the fenced area, that will connect to our existing trail system.
Yeah, and connect to the trail system so you give access from other parts of the town for that. But I think the other thing that makes this park unique, though, is its proximity to some of your hotels, because there's not many places where you can go. You can take the dog when you're on vacation, and then all of a sudden, we've got a spot to go let the dog run off some energy for a while, too. I think that's something else that makes the area unique. Yeah,
one of our hotels is a pet-friendly hotel that's just down the road, so Quality Inn is named as a pet-friendly hotel. Also being the access off of 51, having that, you have to stop on your way up to Minocqua, maybe you gotta stop and let the dog run, or you're heading up to the UP, you need to have a dog walk, you can certainly do that as well.
Indeed. And one more thing then before we let you go, I know you've got a couple of big development projects coming up, some of them actually just going on just down the street from us here. Let us know what those are.
So I mentioned that they just tore down the former tap house, which when I first started here, boy, I forgot what was all in there, but it was a multi-tenant unit at that point, so it's changed ownership a few times, but the building's taken out, so we are looking at Connexus Credit Union will be coming in, so that'll be a nice new addition coming in to entry of our community. People coming off of 51, 29 southbound, or up, going the other way, certainly a good entry for our community. We also had a pre-application, or actually an application approved for conditional use for a restaurant that's going to be coming on the, we identify as the Old Tanglewood, which is going to be sitting right behind the Connexus Credit Union. So that whole area is starting to change, and that certainly is going to be a positive. There's another project off of Double N as well, somewhere we're starting to see a little bit of a commercial change along Double N as you kind of head towards the west. Yeah, and I'm sure putting the paperwork together for all of those things is probably a great challenge of your job, but is the dog park aspect and fundraising and planning for that, is that the most fun?
that you can have in this office?
When you get excited, when you're like the finalist on a pet safe grant and you can get national attention, that's pretty cool. That is really neat. That's neat. And that's something, again, if we're the only community in Wisconsin to have that, that's awesome. That's the fun part of it, too.
And well, we appreciate the time, and we'll look forward to chatting again down the road.
Sounds great. Thank you.